There we go. Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. Thank you all for joining me for our weekly Sunday service as we open to some very creepy cinematic music here that I really didn't intend to cue up this way, but it'll work. It'll work. It's a dramatic, dreary day here. Hurricane Nate, which I assume is no longer a hurricane, is making its way through the middle of our country. I'm hoping that there isn't some like major disaster because I haven't really heard of one yet. I think it's just a big storm. So anyway, it's October. I'm wearing Freddy Fazbear, one of my favorite hats actually. I hope it's one of your favorites too. We have a lot to talk about today. Some of it's serious, some of it's not. And we're going to get through all of it together. And of course, we have dogs. We have dogs to share. We can watch dogs while we talk about some of this stuff because, some of it's a little heavy. How is everybody today? Actually, you know what I don't have up? I don't have the new chat. Let me grab the new chat up so we can see what everybody's saying. Kill the old one. Pop out chat. Oh, now it's like really this nice somber music. Doing great with this opening today. YouTube chat. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Welcome, welcome. How bad are we out of sync with the audio? That's not good. I have to adjust this every time, it seems. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. I once knew a Polish audio engineer.
Audio sync is apparently very off.
Yeah, that's what I heard. How? What are we? Is video leading audio or is audio leading video? See, that's the weirdest part, is I had to put that half a second lag in there last time. Let me take it out now. I will take it out. We'll down to 166 milliseconds. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Can anyone hear me? Am I coming through?
So yeah, the audio was leading the video by quite a lot. Was it that 666
The audio was leading the video?
Yeah. The audio went first, and then the video came afterwards.
Both the audio and the video are leading. Thank you, Kate. That really helps. So the audio is now leading the video even worse. What? Oh, God. This is just terrible. Was it this bad on the previous stream?
No, but I think you had a 666 millisecond thing.
Yeah, I did. I still have that programmed in. I just programmed it back.
Oh.
They said it was worse, so I feel like I have to add another whole second. Here, let me kill my desktop audio so I can hear what it's like. Oh yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, that is pretty bad. Let me add some more delay to it. This is why we just need to have one camera with a good microphone instead of having to sync everything. Let's just Okay, so I added yet another half a second to it. Okay, so here's what we'll do. We'll just take me out of the equation. Here, you guys go watch some dog video. Audio is leading. Move to strike. You can ask a question. Brandon, see if you can grab Firefox's question.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Okay. Good sync. Good now for me. Okay, so wait a second. If I go back to full screen now, this is okay. I'm going to wait till this shows up on chat, and then we'll make sure that everything's good. I'm going back to the dog video. Okay, good. Good enough. Cool. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about today. We're only 6 minutes into this stream trying to get the audio synced.
It's fine.
All right, I'm going to turn the music down just a little bit. Or do we like do we like it better when we go over the stories without the music? How about I just take the music out for a little bit? There we go. Okay, good morning, everyone. Hello, I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. We'll start the stream archive here then. So I guess that's about a 6 minutes in, I've got to remember. Great. So thank you all for coming. It is a much better day than last Sunday was for many people. I want to cover ever so briefly the incident that has touched so many lives around the world, and has hurt so many people. We're talking about Las Vegas. I'm not going to mention the man's name, and I'm not going to go into any detail or anything like that. What I wanted to say was I really wanted to call for a bit of moderation. Obviously, everyone is extremely emotional. I'm emotional. I wasn't even affected directly by it. Just seeing it happen, just knowledge of it, made me very emotional. Obviously, everyone from talk show hosts to actual victims to just citizens of the city, the state, the country, the world have all had very strong feelings and reactions to it. And this is an easy time for people to call for immediate legislation, immediate action, call for the vilification of people who own firearms, or call for the vilification of people who are overreacting by calling for all of these things while we're all still reeling from the tragedy. One of the reasons why I wanted to discuss it ever so briefly is because it is not, in my humble opinion, a really great case. It is a terrible, terrible, terrible tragedy. It is a terrible crime. It is one of the worst things I've seen or heard of in my lifetime. I don't think it's a great case. The man is a little bit older. He was 64, I think. He's white. He collected many firearms. He used the bump stocks to make them fully automatic, but yet he doesn't so far seem to have an extreme political agenda or an extreme religious agenda or an extreme anything agenda so far. There's lots of room for this to be investigated, and also that's another reason why maybe we should talk about our feelings now, but not take action yet. Why am I calling for no action? Am I interested or something like that? No, I just think it's an easy time to whittle away rights here or there. I'm all for a discussion, and I'm all for some legislation. I'm nothing against any of those things. I'm just calling for a less hyperbolic reaction. And so I thought we would talk about the fallacy of hyperbolic induction. So I'm not going to talk anymore about any details of Las Vegas. Just that's really all I wanted to say. And let's then segue into why I think it's a bad idea to talk about those things that way. Okay, Firefox is not going to cooperate. Come on. Where are we? There we go. Thank you. No, not cancel. Okay, there we go. So, hyperbole is a mathematical term, or at least it's mostly known as a mathematical term. Hyperbole is that curve when you do, what is it, x squared or something like that, and you get a slight curve, and then an accelerating curve, and then an extreme curve that goes towards infinity or goes towards zero or something. Those there's a famous three-dimensional drawing that everybody does in their first year of or whatever calculus. And you're drawing what are the saddle, the hyperbolic saddle drawing. I forget. It's been so long since I've done that level of math. Anyway, so hyperbole is basically going to extremes. It is a tool that is meant to be used to identify the extremes, and I often use this tool to show people that there are boundaries. Maybe you wouldn't pay $200 for something. What would you pay? What's your limit? And you can use hyperbole to help them find that. Well, I wouldn't pay for that at all. Okay, well, what if it was $2? What if they were giving you $2? Like, I use this tool to find where their limits are, which is also the way mathematics can use it. It's interesting crossover, but it's just a tool, and like many tools, it can be overused. And if you take things to extremes too quickly, you overlook details. And so the hyperbolic fallacy, according to this website, occurs when something is stated more strongly than observations behind it support. And if you start to look in your daily lives for hyperbolic thinking or hyperbolic policies, it can become pretty obvious that some people are just speaking a political agenda in whatever direction. When they try to take small or insufficient evidence and turn it into a call for large sweeping action. So again, I'm not stating any political position on what should be done in response to Las Vegas, except that we shouldn't respond too quickly. That's all that I'm saying. We are human beings. We are emotional, and it can get out of hand easily. Anyway, so everyone, the next story that I thought we'd talk about. Let's see. Let's go over something a little lighter. I'll start with this lighter story about the racist brownies. Let me pull this one up. Don't worry. There's no what I would call terrible racism here. This is just a funny story. So this was a story that was posted in the Huffington Post. Oh, I see it was posted on June 30th of 2016. So this is not a news story. I just came across this when someone posted it last night, and I thought that I would share. There is a school district in Collingswood, New Jersey, that has a policy of calling the police for everything. Now, I'm not being hyperbolic. They really do have a policy of calling the police for every conflict that is greater than a slight interpersonal conflict. And so the police were called when a kid made a comment about brownies and some other kid shouted, "That's racist." And the comment that was said, they don't even have it, what the comment was, but the kid maintains that he didn't say anything racist. He said the word brownies, and that someone took that as a racist thing. And so the police were called, and the police had to question all involved and conduct a minor investigation. The Collingswood police chief says that officials at the school need to report things as minor as name calling, and that the school would typically handle internally, all the way up to a full-blown major investigation. So I don't know if the police are just trying to remain relevant. It says here that there was some major incident that was not reported, and the police didn't like that, so they've asked that all things be reported to them. But here we have this boy who didn't do anything. He and his parents have been referred to the New Jersey Division of Child Protection and Permanency over a allegedly racist comment about brownies. This might be going just a little bit too far. An unidentified mom told Philly.com, "What's next? Are we going to have to send kids to school with a lawyer's name and number?" For when they were questioned by the police for having done something very, very minor. Okay, it seems like the Collingswood mayor has now confirmed that the policy has been reversed, that the original policy was a result of a misunderstanding, and the prosecutor's office just wanted more serious events to be reported more promptly, which that all makes sense. So once again, they've taken it to some kind of extreme instead of finding the narrowly tailored approach, the suit that fits the person in order to solve the problem. It's a funny world we live in, guys. Yeah, what a time to be alive. So I skipped a story that I wanted to go over. The Harvey Weinstein story is an interesting one. Let me pull up, because somehow I forgot to put this. Hang on, I'm not ready. I need to be more seamless. You guys are seeing the cracks. Weinstein statement. Okay, here we go. So, Harvey Weinstein is a movie producer in Hollywood. Let's look up his Wikipedia page, because even I am not 100% familiar with what he's produced. He's behind a lot of big indie films, if I understand correctly. Firefox back. Okay. American film producer, Pulp Fiction, Clerks, The Crying Game, Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Shakespeare in Love, The Producers, Billy Elliot the Musical, August, Osage County. So he's done a lot. He's been behind a lot of work. And he has been accused of pretty much the worst kind of sexual misconduct. Well, not the worst kind. I guess there's worse. But the worst kind of sexual misconduct that people in this industry typically get charged with. This is the sort of pay-to-play mentality of some producers in Hollywood, except the payment is sexual favors. And what he would allegedly do to these women is have them show up for casting calls at his residence or at a hotel or something. They would think they were coming to a regular above-board casting call. They would be funneled or shuffled or told to go to his room, and he would be in some stage of undress, or he'd invite them to massage him, or he would invite them for him to massage them. He would ask them to watch him shower. And these ladies were put in this position of, I want to be an actress. This is the guy that I have to pass his test. But how the hell do I get out of here without pissing him off? And so there were some really, I'm assuming, worse than awkward moments. And these women apparently have settled several of these claims over the years with him. 8 or so women have settled with him over the years. And now, I forget how it came out, but it seems that somehow this now came to light in 2017. And so recently he hired an attorney. He hired Lisa Bloom. Lisa Bloom is a big-time attorney who does kind of crisis management and defends or represents people who are involved in Hollywood. Lisa Bloom's mother, I think, Attorney Allred, I forget her first name, was a very famous attorney who only prosecuted, I believe, or defended women who would have been victims of this kinds of thing. Trying to prosecute the perpetrators of these sorts of things. And Lisa instead has chosen to represent here Harvey, the perpetrator of said crimes, allegedly. And I'm sure that there's a whole thing. There's been multiple people, including actors. I want to say there were 2 younger male actors who had reported similar things that they had seen in Hollywood. At least the black leather couch is above board. Like, at least that's they know what they're getting into there. Supposed to, at least. I'm assuming that's the production is behind the scenes there. Gloria Allred, thank you so much, Easy Cheese. So it's interesting that then Lisa Bloom got fired this week because she's been saying things that his side disagrees with, that Harvey and his brother Bob and I think one of their other executives they've disagreed with. And so now we have this statement that was just released. Harvey Weinstein says, I came of age in the 60s and 70s when all the rules about behavior in workplaces were different. That was a different culture then. I have since learned it's not an excuse in the office or out of it to anyone. I realized some time ago that I needed to be a better person, and my interactions with the people I work with have changed. I appreciate the way I've behaved with colleagues in the past has caused a lot of pain and sincerely apologize for it. Though I'm trying to do better, I know I have a long way to go. This is my commitment. My journey will now be to learn about myself and conquer my demons. Over the last year, I've asked Lisa Bloom to tutor me, and she's put together a team of people. I've brought on therapists, and I plan to take a leave of absence from my company and to deal with this issue head on. So I respect all women. I so respect all women and regret what happened. Okay. I hope that my actions will speak louder than words, and that one day we will be able to earn their trust and sit down together with Lisa and learn more. Jay-Z wrote in 444, I'm not the man I thought I was, and I better be that man for my children. The same is true for me. I want a second chance in the community, but I know I've got to work to earn it. I have goals that are now priorities. Trust me, this isn't an overnight process. I've been trying to do this for 10 years, and this is a wake-up call. I cannot be more remorseful about the people I hurt and plan to do right by all of them. I'm going to need to place to channel that anger, so I've decided I'm going to give the NRA my full attention. I'm assuming that's not the National Rifle Association. I hope Wayne LaPierre will enjoy his retirement party. I'm going to do it at the same place I had my bar mitzvah. I'm making a movie about our president. Perhaps we can make it a joint retirement party. 1 year ago, I began organizing a $5 million foundation to give scholarships to women directors at USC. While all this might seem coincidental, it has been in the works for a year. It will be named after my mom, and I won't disappoint her. Unsigned, I guess. I don't know. Wow. That is tone deaf, right? A little bit?
It did mean the National
At least
Rifle
a little
Association, by the way.
Are you fucking kidding
Wayne
me?
LaPierre was the president of the NRA.
Why does that belong in an apology statement about the whip? What? Why does that belong in an apology statement in any way? Oh my god, he really did mean the NRA. Okay, so let me just pick this apart real quick. I came of age in the 60s and 70s. That's fine. You know what? I came of age in the 2000s, and I still had, awkward things about me, but at no point did I really have trouble knowing that women were people and that you treat them like equals. That you treat everyone like equals. It doesn't matter however they identify. It's not hard to just treat them like a person. It's really, I don't know, maybe some people have trouble with empathy, but I just think of how I would want to be treated. I try to think of what would I feel in their shoes, and then I think about how should I then behave to make that more or less less awkward and more better for them. It can be hard, it can be awkward, but it's not impossible, and it's definitely not the rules of behavior in workplaces were different. It just seems like that's just enabling. It just like that just sounds like you wanted to treat women like sexual objects, so you joined the other people who were treating women like sexual objects. Anyway, I've since learned that it's not an excuse. Okay, great. I realized some time ago I needed to be a better person. Great. I appreciate that I behaved. It has caused a lot of pain. I feel like that's an understatement, but okay. Though I'm trying to do better, I know I have a long way to go. This is my commitment. My journey now will be over the past. I've asked Lisa Bloom. I've brought on therapists. So I so respect all women and regret what happened. I don't know that saying it is enough. And then quoting Jay-Z. I hope that my actions will speak louder than words, and that one day, okay, yeah, I don't know. I feel like his actions are speaking louder than his words. His actions, allegedly, were to do these things. Those things are speaking much louder than his words are, in my humble opinion. I want a second chance. At least he acknowledges that he needs to earn it. It's not an overnight process. I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed with the letter, but then I'm also disappointed that this was his attitude towards people in the first place. Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing that's going on with Harvey Weinstein right now. What's next? How about Louis Vuitton? Can Louis Vuitton not take a joke? It's very possible. Let's go over this.
Louis Vuitton is a clothes designer, right?
Louis Vuitton is a clothes and accessories handbag designer, is the big one that we see a lot. There we go. So here is a court order, and although this is from the 22nd day of December 2016, this dismissal stands. The Supreme Court recently denied certiorari, denied hearing this case on appeal. So this is Louis Vuitton versus My Other Bag, and it is it's only 6 pages long, so I thought we'd pretty easily be able to go through this. Appeal from a judgment, U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York. It is hereby ordered, decreed, and adjudged that the previous judgment is affirmed. That means the judge is confirming the lower court's finding, the district court from the Southern District of New York. Plaintiff Louis Vuitton Maletier, I don't even know how to pronounce that, appeals from a award of summary judgment in favor of My Other Bag on Louis Vuitton's claims under federal and state trademark and copyright law. We review an award of summary judgment de novo, which means brand new from the beginning, construing the evidence in the light most favorable to the non-moving party and drawing all reasonable inferences in its favor. So they're reviewing this brand new, and they're being very favorable towards Louis Vuitton, the non-moving party. Anything that is not clear, anything that is ambiguous, will be resolved automatically in favor of Louis Vuitton. So they're giving Louis Vuitton every chance to win here, basically. We assume the party's familiarity with the facts and record of prior proceedings, and we reference only as necessary to explain our decision. So this is going to be a very, very light summary. Louis Vuitton submits that the district court ignored or discounted favorable record evidence during its application of the non-exclusive 8-factor Polaroid balancing test from the Polaroid Corp versus Polarad Electronics case in 1961. If you are studying trademark infringement, you would want to get familiar with that case, the Polaroid case. And thereby wrongly concluded, this is Louis Vuitton saying, that they wrongly concluded that there was no likelihood of consumer confusion between Louis Vuitton's and My Other Bag's products. The argument fails because Whether we review the district court's findings as to each Polaroid factor deferentially or de novo, we reach the same conclusion. Specifically, obvious differences in My Other Bag's mimicking of Louis Vuitton's mark, the lack of market proximity between the products at issue, and minimal, unconvincing evidence of consumer confusion compel a judgment in favor of My Other Bag on Louis Vuitton's trademark infringement claim. Accordingly, we affirm this part of the summary judgment award to My Other Bag. Trademark dilution. Louis Vuitton argues that the district court erred in finding as a matter of law that the use of its marks on My Other Bag's tote bags was parodic, bringing it within the fair use exclusion from dilution liability. Whether parody is properly identified before or after conducting the six-factor dilution analysis stated generally in Starbucks v. Wolfsboro Coffee, the district court correctly awarded judgment to My Other Bag. A parody must convey two simultaneous and contradictory messages, that it is the original, but that it is not the original and it is instead a parody. My Other Bag's bags do precisely that. At the same time that they mimic Louis Vuitton's designs and handbags in a way that is recognizable, they do so as a drawing on a product that is such a conscious departure from Louis Vuitton's image of luxury in combination with the slogan, My Other Bag, as to convey that MOB's tote bags are not Louis Vuitton handbags. The fact that the joke on Louis Vuitton's luxury image is gentle and even possibly complimentary to Louis Vuitton does not preclude it from being a parody. A trademark parody reminds us that we are free to laugh at the images and associations linked with the mark, or provides entertainment conveyed by juxtaposing the irreverent representation of the mark with the idealized image created by the mark's owner. Indeed, a parody of Louis Vuitton's luxury image is the very point of MOB's plebeian product. This distinguishes this case from ones cited by Louis Vuitton where a trademark was used merely to promote or sell goods or services, which is impermissible. Quote-unquote, using Charbucks to identify coffee blends as one competing at the same level and quality as Starbucks. Using the Harley-Davidson logo to advertise a motorcycle repair shop. Those are all infringements. Louis Vuitton nevertheless contends that My Other Bag is not entitled to a fair use dilution defense because My Other Bag uses Louis Vuitton's marks as a designation of source. The district court, however, determined that the testimony of My Other Bag's CEO, upon which Louis Vuitton principally relies to support this argument, unambiguously refers to the likelihood of consumer confusion, not the designation of source. Our review of the transcript does not suggest otherwise. In any event, the nature of My Other Bag's business, it sells quite ordinary tote bags with drawings of various luxury brand handbags, not just Louis Vuitton's, printed thereon, and the presence of My Other Bag, an undisputed designation of source, on one side of each bag, independently supports summary judgment for My Other Bag on this designation of source issue. Accordingly, we affirm the award of summary judgment to My Other Bag on the federal trademark dilution claim. We likewise affirm summary judgment on the state law dilution claim, and they talk about state law for a sentence. Copyright infringement. My Other Bag's parodic use of Louis Vuitton's designs produces a new expression and message that constitutes transformative use, citing Campbell v. Cuff Rose. Like the district court, we conclude that the remaining fair use factors either weigh in favor of MOB's favor or are irrelevant. And Louis Vuitton's arguments to the contrary largely repeat or echo those we have already rejected. Accordingly, we affirm the award of summary judgment to MOB. Very, very interesting. So let's take a quick look if I can find them. What is My Other Bag's Louis Vuitton bag? Okay, so let's pull this up. So this is the bag, or these are the bags in question, it looks like. It's literally a canvas tote bag. It doesn't even just have the pattern printed on the side. It literally has a bag, like the whole bag printed on the side. And then to the left of this is an actual Louis Vuitton bag. So, yeah, I don't see how that was infringement in any way. So that's interesting. What do we think of that? Any, we could take a quick moment and pause for questions if we'd like. Any questions on anything we've discussed so far? I'm not interested in politically charged questions or anything like that. So, I mean, Brandon's going to filter, but I'm just giving Brandon a little extra discretion to filter since I covered some things that might have been a little political.
We actually only have 3 questions so far. So if you
Okay,
guys want
great.
to ask more questions, I'll put another link in the chat. Go ahead, feel free.
Also, this might be a great time for Brandon to post a link to our Dropbox referral. We don't do much like advertising or product placement or anything on here, but right now we have a tiny problem where I need to get Brandon about $100 worth of Dropbox space, and it would be way easier if you guys who hadn't signed up for Dropbox just signed up for it, and every one of them gets us, 5 gigs or something? So that would help us get him some free Dropbox space for a year or whatever it is. So if any of you have not used Dropbox and you would like to try it, please feel free. If you have not used Dropbox and you have no intention of trying it and you don't want to try it, no hard feelings. It's really fine. It's just another. It's not just another Google Drive or cloud storage service. It's a really good one. I use it for my business. It's very secure. I have 2-factor authentication. It does versioning, so I can, if I accidentally delete something, like I had accidentally deleted. Believe it or not, I accidentally deleted an entire really important folder. It was not my client folder, but it was like my law firm folder, like all the stuff that I use to run my business. And so like receipts and stuff that I need to file, taxes, and all that. So it was really cool. Dropbox just let me, I just brought it back with the versioning real quick. It was great. The dogs are not live. I have been taking time to record dog B-roll, dog footage for the dog roll, and this is from Thursday afternoon, I think. Instead of going to my weekly shooting thing, I do weekly shooting training and weekly shooting competition, I had been doing weekly shooting competitions. Now it will be more like monthly competitions. Questions, Brandon? Go ahead. If you are ready.
I wasn't, but it's okay. Shima Spawn asks, have you heard about the case with Andy from CinemaSins? Maybe that's something we should add to our radar.
Yeah, somebody look that up and get me a link. I haven't. I'm not familiar with the names there, so I might have heard about it. I'm not sure. People send me a lot of stuff, and sometimes I just skim it. There have been a couple tweets I've seen recently where people got either demonetized or taken down for weird reasons. Demonetization seems to be the big one in the past 2 weeks. Let's talk about that for a second before the next question. The demonetization on YouTube, this is very, very important. If you are a YouTube content creator and you have something that gets demonetized out of the blue, or if you haven't been checking to see what past videos are getting demonetized, you might want to check because the new bot is up and the bot is blank. And we've been discussing why the bot might be so blank. I mean, it's triggering on anything. It's triggering on things that really shouldn't trigger at all. And so what we're thinking is that actually Google really did create a blank AI, gave it some learning algorithms, but didn't give it instincts, as in how to identify content, because I really think maybe Google doesn't even know. Maybe humanity doesn't even know what is so offensive that you can't run ads on it. Even Casey Neistat got a video about the Las Vegas shooting where he's asking for donations to charity and nothing else, if I understand it correctly. He got demonetized, and meanwhile YouTube wrote back to him and said that he got demonetized because they don't allow advertisements for those controversial events. So he tweeted back at them showing an advertisement running on Jimmy Kimmel's coverage of the Las Vegas shooting. So it's a double standard, and the only explanation is that there is either a real double standard, which is very possible. I'm not saying there couldn't be a real double standard. Definitely seems like Jimmy Kimmel gets a free pass, and Casey Neistat does not. Or it's also a blank bot. And Casey Neistat got disabled by a bot because the bot just goes and disables anything that it wants to. And the way the bot gets trained is through the review process. When you write back and say, no, this is not, this is suitable for advertisers, and here's why, an actual person then watches the video, categorizes things. They have a whole training document at Google. I think it's even published. I don't want to go over it now. But the person categorizes this video, decides whether it's suitable for advertisers or not, and then tells the bot that, and then the bot learns, and maybe next time the bot won't get it wrong. So, Ozarek, just real quick, it's not that the shooting is controversial, it's what to do about it that's controversial. I think we're all universally on the side that the shooting was one of the most terrible things to happen in recent memory, and probably one of the most terrible mass casualty shooting events in the U.S., rivaled by Oslo in Norway. And though these are both, I mean, Oslo is arguably a little bit more horrific, but who is really rating these things that way? That's not the controversy. The controversy is what to do about it. Whether it's gun control, ban guns, ban bump stocks, whether it's better mental health for people, or whether it's people shouldn't be able to buy 23 guns in their lifetime. Or, these are all valid things to talk about. That's the controversy. We're not going over those things. What we went over was a call for moderation because people get really hyperbolic during these times. They get really emotional, and I was calling for just some calming down. Keep the conversation going. Just let's keep it calm. I've already personally been accused of being, on the side of murderers because I'm a Second Amendment person, and I shoot competitively and I own guns and things. If anything, I would just hope that anyone who is very anti-gun could look at me and say, hey, that guy's a regular guy who likes to go to shoot competitions and stuff like that. Why would you want to take my guns away? I have no interest in automatic fire or bump stocks or being a pseudo military-esque person because it's cool or something like that. I've been a shooter my whole life, and I love shooting. It's got a really, it's like golfing. It's a really nice emotional outlet for things, and it can be a really healthy social activity. I've met lots of really nice people as well, going to competitions and things. So I don't want to in any way turn Las Vegas into a platform for my Second Amendment whatever. I'm saying let's not take away people's rights quickly. Let's talk about why we need to do and what we need to do, and let's make it narrowly tailored so that whatever we do actually has an actual practical effect and accomplishes the actual goal while doing no more than we need to, no more extra damage than we need to. That's all I'm asking for. It is. There's a lot of people enjoy it in a very healthy way. So it's easy for us to shut up and be like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to scare people about by talking about guns. No one's on the side of shooting people that I know of. There are definitely some bad attitudes about whatever certain. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm getting awfully close to not sticking to my core message, so I'm not going to do that. Anyway, I'm stopping here. So, Brandon, there were other questions. Let's change topics. What really other quick, questions?
I just want to say on the stream so everybody hears me. You guys are sending in lots of questions that are like, have you heard about blank? If you want to have us cover that in the future, what you should do is send in a link with the question. That makes it a lot easier for us to find it. Because if you're just asking about a specific case, I mean, there's thousands of cases, and we if you send the link in, we'll be able to actually take a look at it and maybe bring it up next time. Does that sound good, Leonard?
Yeah, that sounds good. It's the channel's growing and things are becoming. I have to keep managing things so that they don't become overwhelming. And so the questions that I'm going to be able to answer are much more specific questions than did you hear about such and such. Yes, sometimes that works. I've definitely heard about Las Vegas, so but at that same time, if you said, did you hear about Las Vegas, I wouldn't know what you wanted me to talk about. Did you hear that he this or that? Did you hear it took the SWAT team 72 minutes to breach the door? Did you hear that he put a camera in the cart outside to see when people were coming, and that a security guard may have actually caused him to end his life early and stop the attack because he thought the police were coming earlier and it was just a security guard checking on something else? That's what I need. I need something specific. Like, what is it that you want me to answer specifically? Like this one. Are there federal laws in place that prevent studies on guns? I don't know. That's a really good question. There shouldn't be federal laws in place that prevent studies on guns, but then again, I also think there shouldn't be laws in place that prevent studies on marijuana, or several other things. Like ketamine is a recent one that was finally taken off of a list because it turns out that it can be used to treat depression and PTSD and other things when used and administered properly by a doctor under the right circumstances. Yet for 50 plus years, people have been thrown in jail. I don't even know how old ketamine is, but for as long as the drug war has been going on, people have been getting thrown in jail for trying to treat conditions. That doesn't sound to me like a thing that we should do to people who have conditions that need to be treated. It's one thing if they hold up a convenience store with a gun or whatever and steal money to try and buy their treatment. It's a different thing when you prosecute them just for having treated themselves for a condition. Anyway, the CDC is explicitly banned from studying gun violence, according to Constructor Carl. I do not know how true that is. I apologize. I'm not trying to say you're a liar, Carl. I just, if that's true, that's pretty horrible. I would think that the CDC should need to explore what causes people to use. I mean, let's just talk about emotions for a second. Let's take guns out of the equation and let's stop talking about Las Vegas. Human beings are fallible creatures. We have brains that break. We have bodies that break. Things can happen to humans. We can't go through life assuming that everyone is 100% mentally sound. We should probably be going through life assuming that people need to maintain their minds just like they maintain their bodies. And if you don't maintain your body, it falls apart faster. If you don't maintain your mind, it falls apart faster. Or you get susceptible to what I call information viruses or logical fallacies, which are what I call information viruses or fallacies. And it's not that I want you to think like a Democrat or think like a Republican or think like a communist or think like an independent. I want you to think in a critical and skeptical way so that you know why you believe what you believe and you can act in a way that furthers your actual purpose. Whatever you decide your actual purpose is, I want you to be able to further it. Now, at the same time, the guy in Las Vegas obviously had issues. I struggle to figure out how we would have caught this guy earlier than this, and I'm hoping that there's something that comes out of the investigation, but assuming that we don't find something that leads to that, knowing only what we know now, this wasn't preventable in the traditional sense. Maybe we could have had flags or something that would have gone up because he owned so many firearms, but there would be a lot of flags on a lot more people because a lot of people collect firearms. Heck, even I'm starting to have a small collection here because I have a pistol for shooting one kind of competition and I have a pistol for shooting a different kind of competition, and that second competition is a 3-gun competition, so I have to have a rifle and a shotgun for that competition. and then none of those are good for, carrying around or anything for self-protection, so I have another one. So it's like I've already got 6 guns, guys, and, does that make me a criminal? Should I be on a list because I'm capable of mass murder? That's a tough one. I'm not a mass murdering type. I honestly would rather use my words and have you remember me as that guy who was competent enough to use his words to make his point, instead of that idiot who was such a coward that he couldn't even use his words. He had to shoot innocent people without any seeming reason or purpose. That is the lowest. That is the most cowardice that I think you could get to. It's absolutely horrible. So obviously this is a big deal. I've gotten back onto this topic, even though I intended to cover it only very briefly. It was a terrible tragedy, and it's obviously affected many people, and including me emotionally. So next question, Brandon. Anything?
Yeah. We have one from Nightfish. I'm curious about the legality of cover songs. There are a number of people on YouTube and on Patreon that make a living doing cover versions of songs, for example, the opening themes of popular series. Is that fair use, or is this only okay as long as nobody notices them? That's an interesting way to end it.
It's pretty much neither at this point. There might be something that you're unaware of, and we're actually going to go over this in an upcoming show. I am working on a more musical show. I thought that I would do some of these covers. We'd make some covers. We would sing some karaoke together. I'm trying to figure out whether you guys want me to sing the whole time or whether I should invite people to, perform the other covers. But I picked a whole bunch of songs, and we're going to perform some covers. So what am I talking about? So covers are when you play someone else's song, but you are performing it. Like it's your singing or your playing. You're not just taking their recording and playing it through the speakers and singing along. You're actually playing either a version that's missing the vocals, or you're writing your own version. Either way, you're somehow performing their song yourself as opposed to playing their audio track. And under U.S. copyright law, you have an absolute right to do that. You must pay them royalties. And the royalties are set by law, and it's often... So the royalties are often they're not high, but they're high enough that you can get a better deal by licensing the right to cover directly through them instead of by using the compulsory right to cover, or the you don't need permission right to cover. I actually received one of these letters, and one of my songs has been used in a compulsory cover kind of situation. And I was really proud of that, trying to figure out whether it was a mistake or not, because I just never thought anybody would really do that. On YouTube, go ahead. Did it turn
out to be a mistake or not?
I don't want to find out. I want to live in my happy little world of pretending that it really is somebody licensed my music. So I haven't actually looked into it. I don't want to. So on YouTube and some other websites, YouTube's the big one that has done this. They have licensed a lot of this music. They have given artists the right to license their music to other YouTubers in a blanket license that says, if you use my music in your video, I get to monetize your video, and if you cover my music in your video, I get a portion of your royalties. So you can, through YouTube's system, automatically cover a song, basically. And I plan on doing this. So, for instance, Frank Sinatra's That's Life. I would play I would record myself singing Frank Sinatra's That's Life, live or whatever, and then I have to tell YouTube that I've used that song. I think I check the checkbox that says that this stream contains third-party content, and then YouTube will identify the cover, or maybe it gives me a chance to add it, I'm not sure. But YouTube identifies the cover somehow, and then flags it and says, okay, your content is now, partially monetized with the other artist. And assuming all that goes right, there's nothing wrong with it doing that. That's not infringement. You have the right to do that. Good for you. You've now covered a song. The trouble with that is it's not a really large amount of money. It's not the same amount of money that you get for writing your own song and publishing it, on a per 1,000 basis on YouTube plays and stuff. So you get less money overall, but the trade-off is that you can use someone else's music. You don't have to go and write your own music. You don't even have to be a really great musician. You just have to be good enough to perform the cover that you want to perform, whether it be singing or playing it or something like that. Okay, so the next one that I thought I would go over, I recently not announced, but I said on my last week's stream that I was really proud of, I think it was last week's stream, really proud of Billy Joel, of all people. He, that's not it. He has sold out the Met, I think? Is it the Met? No, Madison Square Garden. He sold out Madison Square Garden for the next 4 years. Well, why might that be? Do you think it has anything to do with scalpers? Well, Ticketmaster is suing Prestige Entertainment West, Renaissance Ventures, Nicholas Lombardi, Stephen Lichtman, and Doze 1 through 10 for exactly that. Ticketmaster sells tickets for entertainment and sports events to the general public on behalf of its clients through a variety of means, including its website, Ticketmaster.com, and its mobile app. To meet the demands of consumers and its own client, Ticketmaster strives to provide an equitable ticket distribution system that affords all consumers a fair opportunity to acquire the best available tickets for events. To that end, the terms of use for Ticketmaster's website and mobile app prohibits the use of robots, programs, and other automated devices generally known and referred to herein from time to time as bots, that give users of such devices an unfair advantage in searching for and buying tickets. These bots, which essentially are software applications, run automated task scripts over the internet at a far higher rate than would be possible for a human alone. Ticketmaster's website and mobile app employ a variety of security features, including applications known as CAPTCHA, completely automated public Turing tests to tell computers and humans apart, and Splunk, designed to detect bots and to prevent them from accessing the website or mobile app and purchasing tickets in violation of the terms of use. Ticketmaster also assigns several unique identification numbers to each purchaser, which enables Ticketmaster to clearly identify and track irregular, non-human customer behavior. Nonetheless, certain users of the website and mobile app manage to evade these security features and use bots to the detriment of Ticketmaster, its clients, and the public. Ticketmaster is informed and believes on that basis alleges that defendants Prestige West, Renaissance, and the additional purchasers have been using bots to access and navigate through Ticketmaster's website and mobile apps, and through such unlawful use improperly procure tickets for the purpose of reselling them at a substantial profit. In doing so, Prestige West, Renaissance, I'll just call them defendants, inundate Ticketmaster's website and mobile app with page requests and ticket reserve requests far in excess of amounts permitted under the terms of use. For example, the defendants have purchased tens of thousands of tickets for the New York stage play Hamilton, often 30 to 40% of the entire amount of tickets available for a given performance. Defendants, by using the bots, were also able to procure a majority of the tickets available through Ticketmaster to the high-profile Mayweather vs. Pacquiao boxing match in Las Vegas in 2015. As part of this conspiracy to circumvent Ticketmaster's security measures through the use of bots, Prestige West defendants surreptitiously attempt to conceal their identities by using a variety of account names, email addresses, physical addresses, internet protocol addresses, and credit cards. Further, Ticketmaster is informed and believes, and on that basis alleges, that defendants are continuing to use the bots to unfairly purchase tickets to Ticketmaster events after publicly representing that it would stop. In May 2017, Renaissance settled an investigation brought by the New York Attorney General's office by agreeing to abstain from using bots to purchase tickets. However, the Ticketmaster has uncovered evidence that suggested Renaissance has already breached that agreement by continuing to utilize bots. Ticketmaster is also informed and believed that Doe's 7 to 8 assisted the defendants by creating, marketing, and providing these bots. These bots are designed to interact with Ticketmaster's website, etc., etc. In addition, Ticketmaster is informed and believes that Doe's 9 to 10 conspired to purchase tickets improperly obtained from Ticketmaster. Those 9 and 10 knowingly or recklessly disregarded that those tickets had been obtained in violation. Interesting. I'm assuming many thousands of people would have purchased tickets. These deceptive and improper tactics have caused and continue to cause harm to Ticketmaster as well as to consumers who rely on Ticketmaster to lawfully purchase tickets through Ticketmaster's website and mobile app. The bots, etc., 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 bypass technological copy protection, deprive Ticketmaster and its clients and advertisers of various revenue streams. Ticketmaster therefore asserts claims against defendants for breach of contract, copyright infringement, violation of the DMCA, fraud, inducing breach of contract, intentional interference with contract, violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, violations of California's Computer Data Access and Fraud Act, New York's anti-scalping law. As relief, Ticketmaster seeks an injunction, compensatory damages, punitive damages, liquidated damages, disgorgements of all ill-gotten gains, imposition of a constructive trust, and recovery of attorney's fees and costs incurred by Ticketmaster to prosecute this lawsuit. By the way, a constructive trust would be a trust imposed upon the defendants where they would have to basically put money into a fund or someone would oversee their spending of money and it would only be able to be spent in approved ways. And I'm assuming that this is some kind of way to pay Ticketmaster for the damages. So I'm going to stop that one there because this one's another 45 pages long. But, wow, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
Didn't Ticketmaster start as scalpers, essentially? Like, when they first started their business, weren't they buying tickets from stadiums and then reselling them to people? Like,
I don't know. It does definitely sound like it could have started something like that.
I don't know, man. I feel like they got to the point where their website had so many people buying on them that the stadium just decided to cut out the Minutemen and started making Ticketmaster.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. This just feels a little hypocritical.
Do you know how much I am worried about that statement and this channel? I do not want to become the villain. So Godiva asks, how did they violate the DMCA? They didn't violate the typical provision that everyone hears about as far as copyright infringement. The DMCA also has a provision in Section 1201 for violating, quote, technological protection measures, for circumventing DRM or circumventing, basically, technology measures that have been put in place to protect a computer system. It doesn't sound like copyright infringement, but it is part of the DMCA, and you can sue for it even if it's not for copyright. Although you might have an argument from an opposing side that if it's not copyright related, then... But either way, there is something in the DMCA about violating computer systems, basically. In technological protection measures, plus there is a violation of the terms of service here. Those are enforceable, believe it or not, on websites. And there's the interference of contract and stuff, that's all pretty valid. I don't know about actual copyright infringement, but we'll see. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act is another big one that allows civil damages for basically a federal criminal offense, which is password sharing or hacking a computer, basically. The really bad kind of password sharing, the jury is still out on whether password sharing on Netflix is criminally illegal. That would be an interesting outcome, and I don't know that it's going to go that way, but we'll see. One thing I wanted to cover extremely briefly, because it is only worthy of an extremely brief bit of coverage, is the Games Workshop lawsuit that was dismissed/not dismissed. Uno segundo.
The chat was trolling me.
Yeah. Okay, so the lawsuit against Games Workshop has been dismissed. Dun dun dun! Well, remember a little bit ago I said that it wasn't the most well-written complaint. So and it seems to have been filed pro se by a person who works in the industry, and that I wasn't entirely sure it was written properly. I tried to be really nice. Well, apparently the judge agreed and has dismissed the complaint against Games Workshop without prejudice and giving David Moore? Yeah, I think it's David Moore. Giving David Moore until October 19th to respond with an amended complaint filed by legal counsel. The judge said that I don't actually have the reasons for it. The judge said that the complaint was insufficient in some way. I might go over it in detail in a video. I'm not sure, but that the plaintiff, the prosecuting plaintiff, has 2 weeks to get an attorney and file an amended complaint. So that is what has happened with Games Workshop, and on October 19th or before, I'll update with what's going on there. News on the Harmony Gold Battletech lawsuit? No, I don't think I've seen anything, but I will. I'll look into that. Brandon, if you could make a note.
Of course.
Another really interesting article. This one I can't show you because I pay for this service. But real quick, I wanted to talk about this. The NFL Anthem Protests. Not getting into the politics of it. But there was a very interesting article published by Braden Campbell in Law 360, where he goes over some of the reasons why the players are not getting sacked, why they aren't getting fired. And it's not just that it's a political statement or anything like that on behalf of the owners. There are literally laws in many states and case law and such that may protect them from certain First Amendment violations. But wait a second, Leonard. The First Amendment is to protect government. It's to protect you against the government from saying you can't say stuff. It's not to protect you in private industry. Your employer can fire you for saying something that they disagree with, basically, unless it is somehow also protected speech, like protected for gender or race or disability, things like that. The NFL is a private organization, so why can't the owners fire the players? Well, there has been several movements, both political and social and legal, where, for instance, during the McCarthy era, which is back when Senator Joe McCarthy thought that the communists were invading the U.S., and it turns out a little bit of that was right, but the response was extremely overbroad, and anyone who had ever disagreed with the government was basically susceptible to be called a communist and taken in for extra investigation. And a lot of those people would just automatically lose their job, even if they were completely innocent, even if they were later found to be innocent. So there has been a little bit of pushback on that we don't necessarily fire people from a social aspect. We don't necessarily fire people for disagreeing with us. However, there are lots of laws also at work. There literally states and municipalities have anti-discrimination laws that may prevent the NFL from firing people. The NFL has policies that may prevent them from firing players for political statements. And then, of course, some of the owners literally don't disagree with their players' right to protest. So what I'm trying to get at here is that the situation is more complicated than it seems. It's not as simple as players are protesting and owners should fire them or not. it's a really complicated situation. An owner who may want to fire an employee may not be able to, and an owner who may not want to fire an employee may not be able to say everything that they want to say, because they feel the political pressure on the other side. So it's a very difficult situation, and I think it makes for a very interesting discussion. But I'm going to stop that one there. Yes, it is also illegal for the president to influence the firing of any private worker, but good luck finding someone to prosecute the president. I think it's unethical, and he's received an ethics complaint for it. I am not, again, getting into any politics here, but the president saying that they should be fired for their political or free speech statement or whatever, that's a difficult one. That's not necessarily legal, and I don't think it's ethical for a politically charged president. But it's also not, at this time, unexpected for this particular president to say things like that. Next story, or maybe, Brandon, I don't know if you have any questions that are pending or anything.
Yeah, I have one for you.
Money
Pow asks, "Hey Leonard, what's the best experience you've ever had in a courtroom, either as an attorney, a defendant, a plaintiff, or an onlooker?" It's kind of a tough one, right?
There's been a couple. I think the most satisfying ones were, I was working on a custody case where it was a long custody case. It had been going on for years. I was taking it over from an attorney who had her own issues and lost her law license, and I didn't want the case. I didn't want any of the cases, but I also, once I had them, realized I didn't want to neglect them or anything like that. I needed to take care of these people, and this one particular case, which I have been given permission to talk about, involved a young lady who was being mentally and psychologically abused by her mother. She would basically, so imagine that you have a kid and you're a poor person, and maybe you're looking for ways to get some money or some attention. So you know that you can get money if your kid has a disability. So you take your kid to the doctor's office for an evaluation. But, the kid's healthy, so what the heck are you going to do to make the kid look unhealthy? So you start yelling at the kid. You're in the car or whatever, and you start telling the kid what a horrible person she is, and every little thing that she does wrong, you pounce on her, and really make her feel invalidated for every little thing that she does, every human mistake, every human not mistake even, and the kid feels about as small as you possibly could feel, and at some point the kid, you push the kid, you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, you back somebody into a corner. What happens? They lash out, and so when the kid starts lashing out, mom picks the kid up, takes her into the doctor's office, and says, "Hey, look what I have to deal with. This kid's got a disability. Give me money." Oversimplified, but over the course of a few months to a few years, mom was able to get the kid diagnosed as autistic, with severe behavioral problems. The kid really did start acting out more and more and more, even becoming violent at times, and became easier for mom to say, look at what I have to deal with. But my clients, whenever they would get their custody time with the kid, they had no problems. They certainly saw some of the agitation, and the kid did lash out occasionally, but it was easy to get the kid calmed back down, and they started to see the pattern. And so we intervened so many times trying to get custody time, more and more custody time with the kid, and it went from visits to a few more visits, and then my clients were basically qualified to be custodial caregivers for the child. These are the other side's grandparents. And eventually the mother hit the kid with a hairbrush. And it was the best thing that ever happened to that case. And it was horrible. Actually, it makes me tear up a little bit thinking about it. Because that was something physical, And in Pennsylvania, it is just so much easier to get custody of a kid when there's physical harm than when there's mental harm. And this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. This is what it takes. But it's so much easier to get custody of a kid after someone has hit them than it is that they've mentally abused them for years. So my grandparents, not my clients, the grandparents, got custody of the kid. And mom then started fighting back to get custody back. And mom was one of those people where if I just gave her enough rope, she would hang herself. And so we constructed, with the court, and pretty much with the court's cooperation, we constructed a remedy where mom could have visitation and phone calls and everything with the kid only if she went to see the therapist and worked things out with the therapist. And the therapist would issue a report, and the therapist, would say when mom was ready to see the kid and when the kid was ready to see mom. Well, wouldn't you know it, mom immediately calls the therapist and schedules her first appointment. Then she cancels it the day before because, she's got something else to do. Fine, the therapist reschedules. Second appointment, mom actually shows up. And she starts trying to tell the therapist how things are going to be. And the therapist says, no, it's not how it works. We're going to meet with you, and then I'm going to meet with the kid, and then I'm going to meet with all of you, and then we're going to bring the kid in. It's going to take like 6 to 8 months. Mom wants none of this. She never schedules another appointment. So we still have custody of the kid, and mom has now not done any of her things that she needs to do to get custody back. Great. Status quo. I will sit here and do nothing. I don't have to do anything at this point. Mom has given us the case. We've won. No. Who files for an intervention? Malingering by proxy or Munchausen's by proxy? Yes. This was what I would call malingering by proxy. I had never heard of it before. I am now all too familiar with it. So what happens? Mom is not getting anywhere. Mom's mother, the maternal grandmother, opposing grandparents, grandmother intervenes. In Pennsylvania, the grandparents can intervene. So she files for an intervention, and we oppose it, and we go to court, and we lose. She's allowed to intervene. Now, we're not losing the custody part. She's just been given the chance to now intervene. I opposed even her having the chance, but the court said, no, we're in Lehigh County now, a different county, because the custody shifted from where mom lives to where the grandparents live, and that's a new county, so new chance to intervene. Okay. So the chief judge of Lehigh County is going to hold a hearing, or actually, the chief judge of Lehigh County doesn't want to hold a hearing. So we go to a family court conference, and the family court conference officer is brand new to being a family court conference officer. And over the course of 2 hours is trying their damnedest to convince me that mom and grandma, my opposing parties, really do have the best interests of the child at heart. And if I would just give them a chance. And I'm having to really stand up for this kid and literally verbally fight with this person. No, this is what I've seen. This happens. If you put them in the same room, that kid will lose it and we'll be back to where we started. And I had to really fight for this because it is a big deal in Lehigh County when you do not settle a custody matter at a custody conference. So eventually I had to put my foot down. And we had to go over the 14 custody factors in Pennsylvania. And they have to be gone over on the record before court and everything. So we get all that on the record. Takes another hour or so. It's 3 hours for this custody conference. And nothing, came out of it. Then we get to go prepare for a trial. We get to trial, and this is where I'm answering your question. You asked me what was the best experience I ever had with a court. We get to trial, and this is before the chief judge of Lehigh County. She is known to be an ornery owl of a person. She's a good person. I have no problem with Chief Judge McGinley, but she is not your sympathetic, female motherly judge. She is like, why are you in my courtroom? Get your point made and get the heck out. And so I tried to be as brief as possible. I brought the child's therapist up on the stand, and I asked her all about PTSD and trauma and what she thought was the real cause of the child's mental health condition. And I did this before we asked the mother and the grandmother questions. So then the mother's actually not allowed to be involved. She can be a witness, but she can't be a party because she hasn't done her stuff yet. She still hasn't done it, like 2 years later. So grandmother's the only chance here. And we all think that grandma's just doing this so she can get time for mom. But, the court sees this too, and the court's, not going to let that happen. So grandma's just fighting for her own rights. So grandma gets up to cross-examine the therapist, the child's therapist. And instead of saying things like, well, don't you think it could be this? Or isn't it true that it could be this? Or our other doctor said this, what do you think of that? She just pulled a My Cousin Vinny, and she stood up and she said, everything that person just said is a lie. Which is not what they said in My Cousin Vinny. They said bullshit in My Cousin Vinny, but it was almost word for word. Everything that person just said was a lie. And I just, my eyes just went wide, and I said, objection? I didn't even finish the first syllable of objection, and the gavel had come down, and the judge was saying sustained. So this is not the best experience I've ever had yet. This is getting up to this. So now it's my chance to call her as a witness, and remember that, like a multiple choice test, she just had the therapist explaining everything in front of her. So I get her up on the stand, and I didn't have much to ask. I simply said, after all of that, what is your understanding of the child's mental health condition? And she didn't have an answer. She said she thought that the child had autism and was severely misbehaved and yada, yada, yada. And she didn't say anything about PTSD or anything the therapist just said. So I then said, well, what is your understanding of post-traumatic stress disorder at all? And she didn't really know what it was. I said, have you worked with a therapist or anyone to come to an understanding of what the child's diagnosis is and what you have to do to accommodate that? And she again had almost nothing to say about that she didn't believe that any of this was real and that this was not what her doctor had told her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so the judge at one point was like, hey, it's 11:45. We were going to take a recess at noon. And so I looked at my watch and I thought, how could I buy some favor with this judge? If I could get this case done before noon so we don't have to come back at 1:30, I bet the judge would really like me. And so I immediately ceased questions. No further questions, Your Honor. So she gives examination over to the defendant, the grandmother. So we've got 15 minutes to try and get the grandmother to do all of her testimony, whatever she wants to testify to. So I just shut up. And she testifies about how she thinks this is all a farce, that they just want to take the child away and they don't like us, and that's the reason why they want to take the child. And the child really belongs with us because that's her family, her real family. And that's really all that the grandmother had to say. And then she brought her nephew up to testify to one of the incidences that had happened between the parties. That they had taken a group, the grandmother had taken the group of children from multiple families, but all within the same, custodial unit. And the grandmother had taken the child, my client's child was from a different father than some of the other children. And I had had people testify to some favoritism that was shown, and so this witness was going to testify to that the favoritism was not shown. But this witness was a 15-year-old kid. So far, I have no problem with 15-year-old kids, but it was a very stereotypical and especially in line with Grandma's behavior, very stereotypical 15-year-old kid moment. He was not properly dressed, baggy jeans and kind of like a t-shirt with like a windbreaker, like a school windbreaker on the outside of it as like his formal attire, and this huge afro, like a professionally permed afro. I mean, I don't have a problem with people dressing that way at all, but like this did not look like a great thing to look like in court. So, and then it didn't help that he sort of sauntered and swaggered up to the witness stand, nice and slowly, with his hands in his pockets and like with a big grin on his face, like he was some kind of special person that he's being called as a witness. And again, I'm not trying to like talk down on him for that or anything. It's just it presented an image to the court of like a arrogant kid, really. And there is a place for an arrogant kid. I actually think that childhood arrogance is a good thing, but it does not belong in the courtroom. Anyway, so the kid gets up on the stand and the grandmother asks him to testify, and he testifies that things happened differently at this incident. There wasn't really anything much to go into. It was like just kids calling each other names. And so she asks him about this stuff, and he really has nothing to say other than like, oh yeah, it didn't happen that way. And so it came to me, and I looked at my watch, and we had like 3 minutes to 12, and I looked at the judge, and I said, no further questions, Your Honor. No questions whatsoever, Your Honor. And she smashed her gavel, and she was like, okay, this is adjourned. I'll issue an opinion or an order in a few days. And so we all got out of there at noon, and we all got out of there in time for lunch, and I was super happy with the way it went. And 3 days later, the judge issued an order. Normally, judges write these things. Normally, judges have their clerk. And now, this 8th day of October, 2017, it is hereby adjudicated and decreed that so-and-so, custody time, yada, yada, yada. And they get so good at it that it just rolls off their tongue, and they just do it, right? The judge didn't even do that. She made a photocopy of the existing custody order and just struck out the portions giving the grandmother any custody time or legal rights whatsoever. So we just got like a copy of an existing order with lines through it on Grandma's part. And it was the most satisfying. I spent the whole day crying about it because it was, I'm going to tear up now because it was such an awesome thing that judge was on our side. And that kid is now in honor society, is on honor roll, is catching up with her developmental delay, and having a normal life. So
that is wonderful.
We did it. Sorry, I got a little emotional.
Okay,
I'll pull it together here.
That was a great story.
So thank you for the question. You got that one out of me. Okay.
Do we have any more stories to go over?
We do have a main story that I wanted to cover. I think I'm going to cover it quickly. I was going to cover it in a little bit more depth, but let's cover it sort of quickly because I don't want it to be another 3-hour live stream. This is a 25-page document, though. Let's do it quickly. What has happened here? Not that. That. A bill to amend Title 17 of the United States Code to establish an alternative dispute resolution program for copyright small claims and for other purposes. So, okay. That's a lot said right there, guys. Also, here we go. Hang on. We have it here. Hello, Nico. How are you? How are you, Nico? Did you hear me getting emotional and you came running in? You're such a wonderful puppy.
Psychic powers about that stuff.
Yeah, they do. Okay, I'm almost done, honey. I'm almost done. Give me half an hour, okay? Okay? Excuse me. Okay, honey. He's still here. So this is an attempt by some, what I would say, copyright advocacy groups. There are some, that's not it. Hang on. Let me go back. It opened up in Chrome instead of Firefox. My bad. I know it does that. I should know better. This is by a couple of companies called Copyright Alliance and Copyright Defense, which, interesting names. I like how sometimes the names are like generic. The unified voice of the copyright community. Ad industry efforts. Keep the pirates at bay. The Trustworthy Accountability Group, a group of advertisers and agencies formed to address and support ad-supported piracy, malware, and fraud, released a year-long study. We are the Copyright Alliance, the unified voice of the copyright community, representing the interest of thousands of individual creators and organizers. Artists, broadcasters, filmmakers, video game makers, performers, photographers. And then there's this weird counter, which is counting up way too fast. There we go. Okay. Copyright has contributed $1.2 trillion to the U.S. gross domestic product, which I'm assuming is annually, 5.5 jobs, and $107 billion in annual wages. So this is an advocacy group. And here is another advocacy group, the Copyright Defense whatever. These are the people behind this bill that is attempting to create a copyright small claims enforcement system administered by the U.S. Copyright Office and through remote proceedings. So we don't have to go over this entire 25-page document, but I wanted you to know that it exists and it has been filed, and I don't know when it will be heard or hit the floor or anything. I am not terribly familiar with how things go from introduction to committee to being heard bicamerally and presented to the president for, well, they don't get presented until they're signed, until they're voted. But this creates a copyright small claims court, basically. Hereby established in the U.S. Copyright Office, a copyright small claims program called the Copyright Claims Board, which shall serve as an alternative forum in which parties may voluntarily seek to resolve certain copyright claims regarding of category as further provided. It creates copyright claims officers and attorneys. I could actually apply as a copyright claims officer or attorney very shortly here. I'll have 7 years of experience. I have 6 in 12 days. I'll have 6 years of experience. Is it? Yes, it's 6 already. There will be compensation, etc. Their functions are to render determinations on such civil copyright claims, counterclaims, and defenses as are permitted to be brought before them under this chapter, to ensure the claims, counterclaims, and defenses are properly asserted or otherwise appropriate for resolution by the board, to manage the proceedings. Pardon me. I've apparently been talking for too long after I was yelling and screaming at Oktoberfest last night. This is why I shouldn't be yelling and screaming at Oktoberfest last night. To request the production of information and documents, to conduct hearings and conferences, to facilitate party settlement of claims, to award monetary relief, to provide information to the public, to maintain records, to carry out other duties as are prescribed, and to perform such duties as may be assigned by the Register of Copyrights. They set forth the duties of the copyright claims attorneys. The copyright claims officers shall render their determinations in individual proceedings independently on the basis of records in the proceedings before them and in accordance with the provisions of this title, judicial precedent, and applicable regulations of the Register of Copyrights. The copyright claims officers and copyright claims attorneys may consult with the Register of Copyrights on general issues of law, but subject to Section 1405. Notwithstanding any other provision of law or policy of the Library of Congress or Register, no performance appraisal, okay, whatever. Nature of proceedings, voluntary participation. Participation in a Copyright Claims Board proceeding shall be on a voluntary basis. and the right of any party to instead pursue a claim, counterclaim, or defense in a U.S. district court shall be preserved. So no proceedings shall be maintained 3 years in accordance with copyright. Okay. So this does seem like a voluntary copyright small claims board. That's very interesting. A claim for infringement of Section 106. A claim for declaration of non-infringement. So even the Imagos case might have been able to be prosecuted through the Copyright Claims Board, or at least part of it. A Section 512F claim. A counterclaim solely against the claimant that arises under 106 or 512F. Very interesting. Monetary recovery for actual damages. I'm not seeing statutory damages in here. Actual damages and profits or limited statutory damages. Subject to the limitation on total monetary recovery set forth, actual damages and profits according to Section 504B, etc., or limited statutory damages shall not exceed $15,000 per work, $7,500 per work infringed, or $15,000 per proceeding, depending upon whether it's timely registered or not timely registered. Interesting. This is actually, this seems sort of good. I want to hear your opinion. But this seems like pretty much in line with the existing copyright law. It's completely voluntary, and it limits damages. So there's an incentive for defendants to take this instead of a court case, and there's an incentive for plaintiffs to take this instead of having to file a court case. They may get a little less money, but they had to spend less money as well, at least in theory. So that's really interesting. There's a lot more to this bill about how they review scheduling, conferences, evidence, hearings, voluntary dismissal, etc. I think I'm going to do a longer video on this, and we'll make this one of our major video topics, because this is really, really interesting.
I can set up a poll if you want on the cards.
A poll? Yeah, set up polls on a poll on the cards. What they think about this bill, or whatever. So I was expecting to spend half an hour or more on that, but it appears that it was actually pretty easy to get through. That's a really interesting bill. Anyone have any questions about that or anything else that we discussed today while I wet my whistle? If it is voluntary, could there be an issue with lobbyist judges? No. The federal district court judges would not be allowed to disfavor a party because they refuse to go through with the voluntary process. If it was brought up by a party, it would be a salacious statement that could be struck in a motion to strike. Excuse me. Who's funding these advocacy groups? Well, I think they actually kind of told us. Let's go back here. I mean, it's not these aren't specific, but it looks like it's artists, broadcasters, filmmakers, performers, photographers, etc. Who we are, who we represent. Let's try this. They obviously get their money from someplace. So they claim to represent 13,000 organizations in the United States and 1.8 million individual creators. Not to get down on anyone's parade, but this is very possible. There are a lot of creators who may or may not even be YouTube creators who look at this problem from a different angle, and they really want more anti-piracy tools because they really want to get paid either a reasonable amount for their work or just get paid more as they're getting better at their work? It's a difficult question. Now, at the same time, I think we also saw, or I'm going to be going over, a report that said that piracy really doesn't impact the market that much because it both promotes the market while also taking some sales from the market, but the sales numbers aren't nearly as high as some proponents list, and the marketing or the promotion is actually a little bit stronger than some people admit. So there are arguments on both sides. These people happen to fall on this side. So who are we talking about? 21st Century Fox, American Association of Independent Music, the American Association of Publishers, the APA. This is my people. No? It's a different APA. Hang on, let me figure this out. This is American Photographic Artists. Okay, not the... I forget who I was talking about. ASCAP's part of it. BMI is part of it. The Copyright Clearance Center is part of it. Disney, CBS, Entertainment Software Association, NBA, RIAA, SESAC, Sony, NAB, Thomson Reuters, the Recording Academy, NBC Universal, NMPA, the National Music Publishers, the Motion Picture Association, the MPAA, are all behind this organization and that bill. Why? Because they want to make it more prevalent to go after piracy, and they want to make it less of a public record that they're going after piracy because they look bad when they go after piracy. So, should they be able to? Yeah, I kind of think they should. I kind of think they should be able to pursue infringement in small claims court at the voluntary. Both parties have to agree. That seems kind of fair. So, I don't necessarily agree that you should go after all piracy, but I don't think this is a bad tool. This seems like it might actually be a useful tool for even small creators. This would make it easier for YouTube content creators to go after infringement of their content when people like Milo Yiannopoulos copy my videos. Milo Yiannopoulos copy my video. So, we're going after him. But I'm going after him through my representation, which is Viral Hawk. He's going to pay me for that video. Anyway, so questions, more questions. Let me turn the music back on.
We don't have many more questions here.
We don't have many more questions. Okay, well then, we'll play this song. It's almost been a 2-hour live stream again. Nice.
I want to edit the poll that I made, but it won't let me. But 78% of people were in favor of adjudicating copyright like this. So.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that like, I'm used to the RIAA and the MPAA being absolutely terrible. This seems a little bit less terrible. Yes, Milo Yiannopoulos posted one of my videos to his Facebook. I'm not telling you which one because it's not a Lawful Masses video. And it got like 1.5 million views, which is awesome, but he hasn't paid me for it. So he's going to pay me for it. So I'm owed, like, I don't know, at least $1,000 or so from his 1.5 million views of that video.
He stole your video? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he stole one of my videos. Absolutely.
Whoa.
Posted the entire video on his Facebook to get views. Yep.
Holy shit. Crazy, actually.
I'm not worried about it. I'm letting it happen. I'm pursuing it through Viral Hog, my representation. And if they don't want to pursue it, I still have, like, 2.5 years to pursue it.
Yeah.
So everybody, thank you for joining me today. We went over a lot of stuff. Thank you for bearing with me, and I am very, very impressed at your questions and your participation and the quality of our streams and the quality of our chats and all that. I really love all of you. This has been one of the best experiences of my life to run this channel, and I'm looking forward to every time I get to interact with you guys. That said, I will promise that the new Sensei video is out this week. I will try to get it out tomorrow. Tomorrow's a holiday for me. I should be able to put in some time. It's a big rainy day. The hurricane's here tomorrow, so I'm just going to try to power through it and get it done. And I really want to get myself up to 3 to 4 videos plus the live stream a week. It didn't happen last week. I got derailed by the stupid Las Vegas thing. I don't know how that I get that emotionally affected by that somehow, but it does happen sometimes. So first, let me thank my Patreon supporters. If you would like to see more of my content and just support me in general, please consider supporting me on Patreon, even at the $1 or $2 level. If you pledge at the $5 level, you get put on the board behind me and in the description below. If you pledge at the $50 level, I will literally say your name on stream and thank you personally for your $50 plus contribution. Those $50 contributors for the month of August are Joshua Meinzinger, John Steele, John Cripps, Nate Beck, Lydia Collinson, and Westin Lohne. Thank you very, very much for your contributions, and thank all of the other $5 plus supporters who are scrolling on the panel and are listed in the description below. And there are still another 300 some of you who are pledging at the $1 to $2 level as well. All of you do get some perks. There are you can get the patron tag and access to the patron stream. I do at least a half an hour patron stream before this where we go over some of these topics and I ask for your opinions. Many times we even join live chats and stuff with just the patrons, although I didn't do that this morning. I just realized that, sorry. And you get a tag and your own channel and stuff on my Discord. Discord is kind of I'd call it a better alternative to Skype. You can do video chats now, as well as text chats and voice chats, and we even have tools and things to help find people who play video games together and all that. And it's really a great time. It's one of the higher quality communities that I found on the internet, and if you pledge to be high quality as well, we will let you in, and you can participate with us as well. That link should be in the description. I believe I remembered to put that in there today. Before I started. So if you are interested in all of that, please feel free to join us. We do ask that you abide by some very, very basic rules of common decency. It is not a bastion of free speech over the nice community channel that we've created for legal education and for friends and stuff. So if you come in trying to spout hate under the guise of free speech, or if you're just being annoying, we will ask you to leave, and if you don't leave, we will make you leave. And I'm just saying that to reassure all those nice people who would like to join us that we do try to keep it a very nice and policed community. So that's that. Brandon is also going to be posting a link to a Dropbox referral. We don't really do too much of this where I ask for you to do stuff for me besides give me direct money through the Patreon or watch my videos or whatever. But the Dropbox, we apparently need some space for Brandon, so anyone who hasn't signed up for Dropbox and maybe would like to use a cloud drive service or just wants to try it out, it'd be great for you to use that link. Go ahead and post that in chat, Brandon, when you get a chance.
Yeah, just a sec.
And what else was there? I feel like there was something I was missing.
Are we doing a gaming stream after?
We can do a gaming stream after. I think I'm ready. My voice is a little bit sore. I was yelling and screaming at Oktoberfest last night to try and get the crowd riled up for... Well, we were the singers, we were the choir, so it's our job to get them riled up. So I was trying to be extra enthusiastic, and I think I might have hurt my voice a little bit. But yes, I also have the Twitch channel where we do streaming. We'll probably be playing PUBG after this. What do you think, Brendan? Okay. Imagos case update. Jerry Powers will come later this week. Monday is a holiday, so Tuesday's the earliest that I could get a court to look at anything. And I think I have found very good case law to get rid of Alex's late filing. So I want to make sure I get it perfect. I'm going to take my time and make sure it's right. And like I said, I got derailed this week emotionally, and I don't know if this ever happens to you, but sometimes it's just really hard to concentrate, especially on the important things that really need to be done right when you're just having a difficult time kind of wondering why the world is going so crazy. But anyway, tactical. Yes, oh yeah, that's what am I missing? The dogs. I am missing an Ilsa and a Nico. I am missing an Ilsa and a Nico. Nico. Hello. Hello, how are you?
You guys just go over to the Twitch channel. We'll be starting up in a little bit. So wait for us. We'll start playing some PUBG, and you guys can watch us be
Ilsa.
really
Ilsa. Can you sit? Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah, I don't know where Ilsa is. Ilsa, oh, there she is. Hi, Ilsa. How are you? Huh? Can you sit? Can you sit? Go girl, that's down. Sit. Go girl. Aw, I think Ilsa might have been asleep. She just seems a little groggy. Oh, big stretch. Big dog stretch. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. What good dogs we have. What good dogs there are. Okay, everybody. I think that's a good place to end the stream. What do you think? Little doggo time. So yeah, we'll talk about more stuff next week. We'll talk about more stuff this week when I do actually get some videos out. I love you all. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. And this has been yet another... Oh, thank you, Keith S. for the $10 for the Yosho DB fund. Oh, that's also what I wanted to go over. Yes, I almost forgot what I wanted to go over. So let me also thank Dan Borgel, $5 to the Hat Fund, Mo, 20 euros, what is money and what is it good for? Subject name here, thank you for the Swedish 50. Do you teach Nico in Ilsa copyright law? Access, Swedish kroner 50, you the man. I personally don't know much about this stuff. Keep it up. Elise Vampfay, $5. Love your videos. I no longer sleep in late just to watch you stream. And Keith, $10. Thank you for the Yosho DB fund. I really appreciate you all. I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. Thank you very much for joining me on stream today, and I'll see you in my videos and in our next stream next week. All right. Now we're going to go play some PUBG and relax and have a good time. So join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Leonard French. No J in there, just Leonard French. LeonardFrench. Thank you. See ya, bye. And there's a link in the live chat. Love you guys.